I had a client who would check every room before walking in, under tables, behind curtains, because she couldn't stand the thought that a spider might be there. 45 minutes later, she was laughing as she put her hand into a spider web. And what happened in that session is the reason I love hypnosis. If you've ever wondered if hypnosis can cure a fear of spiders, in this video, I'll show you how a fear like arachnophobia gets wired into the brain in the first place, how hypnosis gently unwires it, and how my client went from panic to peace in one session. She came to me for 3 problems: seasickness, public speaking, and spiders. And I asked her what she wanted to work on in the first session. When she said spiders, honestly, I was thrilled because phobias are one of the easiest things to tackle with hypnosis. And I knew that if she could get over her fear of spiders, it would give her confidence to work with her other issues. And what unfolded in that session is a perfect example of how fast the mind can change. She wasn't just uneasy around spiders, she had a full phobia. She'd scan rooms before entering, avoid basements, and panic at the sight of even a tiny spider. She told me about an upcoming trip she had to Costa Rica and how she was considering canceling because she couldn't face the possibility of running into spiders there. You know, those big tropical spiders. And that's the thing about phobias. They don't just cause fear, they limit what you can do. They kind of shrink your world. So that's where we began. When someone has a real phobia, it's not just an overreaction, it's a full body experience. Your heart races, your breathing gets faster, your muscles tense up, and your mind jumps straight into get out of here mode. My client described living in a constant state of alertness, scanning every corner just in case something 8-legged appeared. She couldn't relax in her own apartment without, first checking all the walls and ceilings, and even thinking about spiders made her stomach tighten. She told me, I know it's irrational. I know it can't hurt me. I know it can't hurt me, but when I see one, it doesn't matter what I know, my body just reacts. And that is the defining feature of phobias. Logic just doesn't help. The fear isn't stored in the part of the brain that thinks. It lives in a deeper, emotional, automatic part. In her case, that fear started to take over her daily life. She was dreading this Costa Rica trip her parents had planned, and part of her wanted to cancel rather than risk seeing a spider and having that reaction. And that's what phobias do. They convince you that avoiding the fear is safer than facing it. But the more you avoid fear, the stronger the fear gets. And that's exactly what we set out to change. A hypnosis session always starts with a simple question. What do you want? Most people start by telling me what they don't want. Like, I don't want to panic when I see a spider. I don't want to feel trapped by fear. And that's a great place to start. But the real shift begins when we flip that into a positive direction. What do you want instead? So I asked her again, if you didn't have that fear, how would you like to feel? And after a pause, she said, I just want spiders to be normal, like seeing an ant or a butterfly or something. I don't want to love them. I just want to be able to ignore them. Perfect. That one sentence gives the subconscious mind a clear target to aim for: calm, neutrality, and control. Here's the thing. The subconscious doesn't understand negatives very well. If you tell yourself, don't be afraid, your brain still focuses on afraid. It's like saying, don't think of an elephant. First you have to think of the elephant and then try to make it disappear like some kind of magic act. But when you say, I want to feel calm, I want to feel in control, it gives the mind something tangible to build instead. And that's what hypnosis does best. It helps your brain rehearse the state that you want to live in until it becomes natural. Now, let's back up a second and look at how phobias actually form. A lot of people assume it starts with a scary moment involving the thing that they're afraid of. And often that's true, but not always. Often, the initiating event isn't even the same as the thing you're afraid of. For example, when you were a child, someone might have thrown a rubber scorpion on you and it scared you. And the shock burns into your nervous system. Later, you see a spider and it might unconsciously remind you of that feeling you had when you saw that when the scorpion landed on you. The body remembers the feeling even if the mind forgets where it came from. And over time, the fear grows stronger and stronger through repetition. And every time you anticipate seeing a spider, your body runs that whole fear response again, heart racing, muscles tensing, adrenaline surging. And the brain interprets this as proof that spiders are dangerous. And that reinforces the whole pattern. It's like digging a rut like a little deeper every time you rehearse the fear until it becomes automatic. Don't you hate it when people try to use logic on you to convince you that your fear is stupid? Logic has no effect on fear because the logical part of your brain isn't the part that's giving you the fear. The good news is that anything learned can be unlearned. Once you understand that a phobia is essentially a learned emotional reflex, hypnosis becomes a natural tool to rewrite it. We could analyze, why it started and try to change the way we perceive that moment, but I like to focus on teaching the brain a new reaction. Calm instead of panic. Neutrality instead of alarm. It's faster and it's easier. We started with a few imagination warm-ups, simple mental exercises to help her connect with her creative mind. Things like picturing colors or imagining your hands are like magnets. These aren't just random exercises. They build that muscle of imagination, which is exactly what we need to use in hypnosis. Because when you have a phobia, you have imagined something. What I want you to do is for you to imagine something else. Once she was comfortable, I guided her into a trance, a relaxed, focused state where the conscious mind steps back and the subconscious becomes open and curious. In that state, I asked her to imagine different scenes, different perspectives, and to replay old moments of fear. But this time, with calm curiosity instead of panic. I guided her to notice that she was safe, that her body could stay relaxed, even as she thought about spiders. And then we began to reprogram the association. I had her picture a spider, but through the lens of neutrality, seeing it as just another living thing, nothing more. We layered in calm breathing, warmth, and light. The key wasn't to love spiders, it was just to normalize them, to help her brain relearn that spiders aren't a threat. We even did some imagination exercises where she pictured spiders dancing around to funny music, things like that. After the session, I asked, "So, how do you feel about spiders now?" And she laughed and said, "I don't think they bother me anymore." So we decided to test it. Since this was a session I did in person, we walked around the building a little looking for spiders. Sure enough, outside there was a big spider web glistening in the sun. And without hesitation, she walked up to it and gently put her hand into the web just to see if a spider were there. It wasn't, but that didn't really matter. What mattered was that she was calm. She was smiling, completely in control. The transformation was real. A week later, I checked in with her and she smiled and said, "It's just not an issue anymore." No panic, no constant scanning, no mental rehearsing with a fear. She'd even seen a spider in her house and she put it out with a little piece of paper. For her, it was a complete shift from dread to normalcy. And I want to point out something here because a lot of people are actually afraid of getting rid of a fear because they think they'll stop being cautious and they'll put themselves at risk. But getting rid of an irrational fear doesn't make you fearless or reckless. It just brings you back to balance. You'll still have normal caution. I don't have a phobia of cars, but I still respect traffic. I don't have a phobia of lions, but I'm not about to go near one outside of a zoo. My client wasn't suddenly a spider enthusiast, but she was free to live her life again and start looking forward to her Costa Rica trip that she had been dreading. And she could put her hand in that spider web after the session because we're in Switzerland where spiders aren't dangerous. I guarantee you she will not be doing that in Costa Rica. You may think you have a phobia under control because you know how to avoid the situations that trigger the phobia. But when you release a fear like that, it's not just about the thing you were afraid of, you get a piece of your life back, a piece of your freedom. You remember what calm feels like, and that feeling tends to ripple out to a lot of other parts of your life too. Once you experience how fast change like this can happen, you realize, if my brain can unlearn that, what else might I be able to change? Now, one-to-one hypnosis is a surefire way to cure a phobia, like fear of spiders. But you can lower any fear quickly and easily with a simple hypnotic trick, I guess, that you can do yourself. And I'll show you how in a video called An Easy Exercise to Lower Pain Fast. Don't be fooled by the title. The same technique works beautifully for fear, just as it does for pain. So click right here and watch that video next, and I'll walk you through it step by step.